to make it even in more aggro, I suppose.
He's almost transformed this deck into similarly like a Mew engine, where you're saying, I have this explosive potential. If I just get one heads, I can be putting on some of the highest damage potential in the entire game from turn 2. So he's almost taken the build of a Fusion Strike Mew deck and said, why can't I put this in the shell of a Miraidon deck?
Yeah, and wipe some Lugias off the field as well. That is also very, very nice. Get those Lugia out of there. But here we go. Yeah, our players are setting up their board states here. Of course, we didn't talk a lot about Thomas's deck either. So that is going to be the Lost Zone box. So even though we've seen a ton of these already, I mean, they are the most popular deck that we've seen out in the field. So of course, we're going to see a lot on stream. But now we get to see it play against a Miraidon. So now we get to see a totally different functionality of the deck itself.
That's absolutely right. And Thomas is playing another interesting twist. He's actually going for duo stones. He's not said, I like Forest more, I like Sky more. He's saying, why not have both? Why not have the option? Yeah, exactly. The option of consistency when you're not into a V-Star or V-Max matchup, and then have the Sky Seal Stone for that real comeback potential, that big burst of prizes all in one go. Now, he is playing the Sky Seal Stone, but he's not playing a card that would be really good against Miraidon, actually, which would be the Galarian Zapdos V. That would be a great way for you to Sky Seal Stone and take a 4-prize knockout on a Regieleki V-Max. But it seems like he's kind of hybriding, so he might be relying on the likes of that Dragonite, which actually popped out while he was shuffling.
Yeah, I know. Ooh, a little bit of a
yeah, you don't want to give your opponent information, but hey-ho.
It happens sometimes, that's for sure. So how do you think this matchup looks on paper, Joe?
Well, I feel like Thomas is going to have a tricky time, to be honest with you. I feel like he's not fully teched for the matchup. I think this sort of goes back to what we were saying, where not everyone is fully respecting the Miraidon deck, perhaps.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that could be a little bit more awkward for him this time around. And speaking of awkward, those prize cards are a little rough. Yeah,
we saw 2 Battle VIP passes in there for Thomas, as well as that Radiant Greninja. So, but here we go. We're into our Swiss round 5. I say we're into it, but now we're out of that first turn for Thomas. Just an energy attachment onto his Sableye and passing over to Robert.
And Rob has Forest Seal Stone. He has Professor's Research. He even has Cram. I'm not sure if he has any item cards. He may just have to forego this and get rid of the lot, see a fresh 7, and then have the option of Fleet-Footed plus Forest Seal Stone. We're looking for a switching option. We're looking for a turn attachment as well as an electricity generator on the bench.
Absolutely.
7 big cards hit. Wow, a few generators. And hits the Miraidon final card.
That is amazing. There we go. We've been talking about this Miraidon all day here in that incredible ability as well that Robert is about to use here, that tandem unit to get out those electric Pokemon onto the bench.
And I think because Rob essentially wins on the spot if his generators go well here, I think you probably want to tandem unit for another Miraidon and just tandem unit even more lightning Pokemon out. That's part of the reason why this ability is so strong, and straight away Rob's identifying the same thing here. It's doing the deck thinning for you. That's a big part of this archetype. You can just get rid of so many cards, improve your odds with these generators.
Yeah, I'm sure Thomas knows how this deck functions. Of course, it was on the roster here to potentially show up in numbers, but still trying to see if it's been respected enough in the list and can navigate around it. Look at all this Miraidon on the bench, Joe!
Rob getting another Raikou V. He's obviously got enough bench Pokemon now as well that can be the target. So he's got 2 generators in hand. He still has his V-Star power that he can use. So he has 2 options to hit 1 lightning energy. That's all he needs. Then he can turn attach and Forest Seal Stone for the switch out.
Yeah, the electric generator card is something new that we have access to. And it's
Fleet-Footed for lightning. That would have been it.
No. No.
Okay, I think Rob's all good though. I think that's all it takes. It has to go to the Raikou. He can turn attach to the same Raikou V and then Forest Seal Stone for the switch card that we know was in that top 5. So we're there, just going to make sure we've got to go through the numbers. Rob is feeling good about things. And that's a pretty well wrapped up first game. And that's the explosive power that we're talking about.
Absolutely. We're even going in with that Forest Seal Stone as well. Turn 1 here for Robert.
I mean, you can't disrespect this archetype when it gets set up like this.
This
is the first turn of the game. Even though you're only knocking out an 80 hit point Pokemon, because he had a second generator, he easily could have been using a Miraidon EX to knock out like a 2-prizer. So you're just keeping decks honest, drawing better than most other archetypes in the game. And there it is, 1 game up for Rob.
The switch card into the Raikou, that's going to be it here. Robert is taking it down. You know, a lot of times we see these unique decks come to the field. Decks that, like you said, Joe, maybe a lot of people don't respect enough. But usually we don't get to see them shine like this. Robert has come to this stage and said, hey, here's my turn 1 knockout, and I'm taking a game in like a couple minutes.
Yeah,
wow.
And it's capitalizing on the inconsistencies of the format, and that's a real big factor in a new post-rotation meta where the card pool is a little lighter than most. We've certainly jumped down in consistency from that previous format, but Rob is saying if I'm playing one of the more consistent decks and I just do my strategy, that will give me a number of wins on its own.
Well, it's funny too, Kyle was mentioning he's played tested quite a bit with this deck, and he was saying, you know, this is a super fun deck to play. Yeah, I'm sure it's fun when you're taking turns like that. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Rob was having fun there for sure. He's got some interesting cards, like we've said. He's got not only those crams, but he's also playing quad switch cart, which is another thing that could be really big in this matchup. If Tomos, of course, we need him to set up this time around, but this could be a big way for Rob to try and undo some damage that Tomos is trying to set up with the likes of Sableye and Cramorant. So Rob's gone about this deck in a really intelligent way, and I can see why he's at this record so far. Oh
yeah, definitely. Just the way the deck is built, it definitely seems perfect into these matchups for sure. Tomos hopefully can get a better setup. I mean, when you're asking for better than an energy attachment pass, you're not asking for much here. So hopefully Tomos can get a great setup here in this next game between these players. But wow, what an incredible quick game 1 between these players.
Yep, and again, kind of another good thing about losing so quickly, which is a sad thing to say, but what it does mean, wow, so many ball search cards in those prize cards.
Yeah.
Rob, lots of lightning energy, but he plays 15, so you have to kind of expect that.
15? Yeah, that definitely.
Tomos didn't really reveal too much from his deck list, so there's still so many things that Rob has to consider and feel like could be in the deck that he has to be aware of. As we see an immediate Hisuian Heavy Ball. It's a fantastic card in Lost Zone engines. It's a real space cheater for you. It allows you to play lower counts of all sorts of one-of Pokemon, knowing that if ever you find the Hisuian Heavy Ball, you can cherry-pick these from prizes. And it also gives you information. Seeing as though the Lost Zone, you know, removes those cards completely, they can no longer be accessed. Knowing what's in the prizes can really inform your flower selectings.
Absolutely, yeah. It's great to have that early on. Unfortunately for Tomos, you know, there wasn't a Pokemon there, but he did see a ton of
a VIP. Look at this.
Pokemon Search.
Prize 2 VIP and then found one off the flower selecting. This is huge.
Oh, that is huge. Yeah, that is huge. There was 2 Battle VIP prized in the last game as well, but this time around, we're finding at least one of them. That's what we need to start getting off to at least a solid turn 1 potentially here for Tomos, depending on what else is in the hand as well that we're going to be able to work with. But a Battle VIP pass is a great way to start that, and hopefully we see an energy so we can see some concealed cards this turn as well.
Yeah, not too shabby. Going first means you don't have to try and get your Cramorant early. You can just focus on fueling your Lost Zone, seeing more cards of Radiant Greninja as well. So that's certainly what Tomos has in mind here. Already with 1 Comfey, and is now going to use concealed cards here. Start working on that hand size. Yeah,
let's see what those 2 cards are. It looks like a Sableye as one of them.
Yep, we've got an escape rope for 1 more flower selecting. There's honestly not much else he wants to do this turn. It's really just work towards your Colress, work towards possibly even any more ball search for the following turn. That's really all he requires, but he's gripping onto a Forest Sealstone and a Raikou V already in hand, so he'll at least have plays next turn no matter what.
Absolutely. So that's going to be 2 now into the Lost Zone for Tomos. So already a much better start here from the last game that we saw. Let's go over to Robert and see if we can see an equally as explosive turn 1 as we saw in the last game. What's the hand looking like, Joe?
Well, 1 Nest Ball is all it takes for Miraidon EX. That's the beauty of the tandem unit. So Rob's going to certainly search that out as soon as possible. Rob really is streamlined. He is literally just playing Miraidons, a thick Regieleki VMAX line. He's playing 2 Raikou V, and he's playing 1 Radiant Greninja as his only single prize Pokemon, which again just helps you draw more throughout the game. And Rob is going to tandem unit for another Miraidon to once again double dip that ability. And again, it just goes back to the fact that he wants to thin these Pokemon out as quickly as possible and improve his odds with the generators, which I already know he has 1 in hand. So looking very good once again for Rob here.
Yeah, all of this off of a single Nest Ball. Who would have thought? Absolutely amazing here for Rob. I mean, I feel like if this game goes equally as well for Robert here, this is going to be putting Miraidon onto the map at least, you know, earning some respect here just from this game alone.
His name, for sure. I do enjoy Rob getting this Raikou V. It gives you that fallback plan if your generator doesn't go as smoothly.
Yes.
Seeing as though he's got his Regieleki V, that's actually a really good attacker in single prize matchups because you can use the lightning wall, then you're reducing 100 damage coming back into you. That can really slow down the opponent. So that's actually one of your go-to options here. But it's expensive. It requires 3 energy. So getting that Raikou V as the backup if you only hit 1 from your electricity generator seems like a very wise choice.
Yeah, that's incredible. So you have multiple options depending on how many energy you run into, essentially.
You're almost trying to cosplay as a Gudra in this matchup sometimes by having that reduction on your side. Rob's also going to grab a Radiant Greninja just for even more draw options. This seems to be a really solid option once again. And look at his hand. He's got energy, he's got generator, and then a clean research after this.
That is incredible here. All right, so we're going to see, this is, I believe, well, our second.
Hey, 2 back-to-back for Rob.
There we go.
Straight into it.
Yeah, you only get to look at the top 5, so finding 2 off of that is huge. I mean, yes, the deck does play 15, but there was 3 in the prize cards. Still found 2. Wild.
And that's why Rob's built the deck the way he has. He's playing 15 basic energy. It seems like a big gamble for like competitive decks, but it seems just right for the electricity generator odds. I'm a little bit interested in grabbing 2 straight to the Raikou. I feel like if you sort of get that high roll, I'd really like to see the Regieleki V in the mix as quickly as possible, because you really block Cramorant, and that's one of the sort of best attackers for the early game of Tomos, and you really just block that straight away. But Rob's going for guarantees. It means that if he doesn't get anything from this research, he's at least attacking.
Yeah, absolutely. But it is going to be a research here of a fresh 7 cards.
Looking very strong. He's also playing Collapse Stadium, so another card that he has for the matchup. Where he could leave a damaged V and then
take it off
the board. Exactly. He's choosing not to use Beach Court either. I think identifying that that would be a helpful card for his opponent.
Absolutely.
So instead, just going to get a second Fleet-Footed in here, and then just get the first prize once again.
Yeah, we've seen the energy, we've seen the draw engine going, we've seen the Pokemon come out. I mean, Miraidon, from this looks, has everything built in.
It's looking very powerful right now.
All right, here we go. That's going to be the first prize card. Ironically enough, not the energy, but Robert's going to take that first prize card down, and we're over here onto Thomas's side of the field now. So we started off that first turn with 2 cards in the Lost Zone. Let's see if we can get some more in here. But first, we're going to see a Forest Seal Stone to start off this turn for Tomos.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Chorus is such a big card in any Lost Zone box deck, and we really got to get to work on that Lost counter. And that's, you know, calling for Chorus straight away. And Raikou's probably the best way that Tomos puts pressure on now as well. You could try and respond with your own Lightning Rondo, because Rob has gone so wide on his board.
Yeah, absolutely. Such a strong card. Has been printed over multiple different Pokemon, multiple different typings, but this is our electric typing that we have here to cover a lot of weakness coverage in the format currently.
Yeah, and Raikou's really kicked on and been one of the more popular ones as of late, mostly because of Lugia, but also just seems to fit in nicely with the other energy types that you play in your deck, the likes of the Dragonite, so seems to be right at home in these Lost Zone variants.
And yeah, the Fleet-Footed is also nice as well. All right, here we go. 4 cards now into the Lost Zone, so that is going to unlock the Cramorant here, at least for Tomos.
Yeah, I think he's got eyes on a bigger prize, because he's also got that Lost Vacuum and the Beach Court. So he could flower selecting and then sort of Beach Court retreat, then Vacuum, and then he's getting there into gate range. So looking pretty good for him. He's also got plenty of bench Pokemon.
Yeah, it looks like that is what's going to start going down here. So just stacking up that Lost Zone, getting those cards in. I mean, this was a huge hand that Tomos was working with. So to see it going so well is awesome. Looks like a Mirage Gate to the Lost Zone there.
Yeah, the Kyogre coming into his hand. You love to see that. Always exciting when there's that option of that Aqua Storm.
Yeah,
Such
absolutely.
an exciting attack. Honestly, probably the most powerful attack in the game that we have access to, but you have to jump through so many hoops to get it working.
Yeah, we get to see it so rarely. I think we've seen it like once on stream, at least for the NA regionals. So
we're dreamers out here, boo. We want to see it.
I know, right? Yup, and I mean, we're on track for it, I suppose, opting to keep that versus the Mirage Gate, such an important card here for the later turns. But here we go, the Mirage Gate from hand to be played onto Tomos's own Raikou V.
Yeah. But ironically, just knocking out this Raikou and then setting up Kyogre for the 2 Miraidon, that could be his entire game plan. He could just spend the entire rest of the game just drawing as many cards as possible, getting to the bottom of the deck, and then going for a Recycler play into a Mirage Gate. It would be a big combo, but Kyogre could close out this game after this one knockout.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering if Thomas sees that as well, and that's the route that he's going to look to go.
Well, you got to go digging. His hand is really good as well for the future turns, as we are going to see the knockout. Raikou into Raikou, that Lightning Rondo.
Yep, Lightning Rondo, such a strong move when there's tons of Pokemon out on the field. Gonna take that knockout for 2 prize cards here for Thomas, so going down to 4 left. So leading so far in the prize cards, but we'll see what Robert has here to respond with.
Rob's hand is massive, but I don't think he has any activation for this one Cramomatic that's in his hand, so this might just be a huge research here. It's probably going to be Beach Courts into play so you can move your Greninja. Oh, wow, he's thinking of using concealed cards to get a chance of an item here.
That is an incredible amount of supporters. Let's see.
Okay, we actually hit the generator and the switch card. These are 2 really good cards for Rob now.
That is wild to see. There's so many supporters in that hand, Joe.
Yeah, there's so many options for him. It still feels like you may end up researching his turn away.
Yeah.
It's going to be a generator first. All right, we're looking good. We're seeing yellow energy straight away.
Yellow.
Double dip.
My gosh, another one. 2 for 2 here for Roberts.
Rob has to consider whether it's worth going back onto the Raikou or using the Miraidon. It has slightly higher hit points, but it's more awkward to sort of chain that attack. So you can see why he's mulling through these options now.
Yeah, that Photon Blaster. I think Kyle and I mentioned it earlier, though, but you can't attack after you use it during your next turn. So you do have to find a way around that. So it looks like it's going to be attachments to that second Raikou V.
Rob's just working with guarantees. He's saying, maybe I don't want to research all of my Gust supporters this turn.
Every single boss in my deck.
Yeah, that could be a little bit limiting. So instead, I'm just going to deal with the guarantees of this Raikou this turn, and maybe forego another energy attachment from hand here.
Yeah, absolutely. That has kind of been the game plan so far for Robert, just the consistency and the guarantees, as you said, Joe. It seems like how he's playing this deck, and I mean, it's worked so far for them. Both of these players sitting at 4-0 records here. Let's see who might be taking a 5-0 record.
Yeah, Rob just considering whether it's worth having the bench damage here, if it's required or not, but instead it's going to tandem unit out a Miraidon from his deck, saying he doesn't need any more Alekis available to him. Seeing his opponent with plenty of 1 prizes in play means you don't need to commit to your VMAX. Rob's still obviously considering Skyseal Stone as an option. So we are going to see the Beach Court into the retreat. We can get a quick fleet-footed card. Rob's been pretty diligent with getting these additional draws in the entire game. That's why his hand is monstrous. Didn't manage a turn attachment, unfortunately. That's the only thing holding him back right now. But he's at least able to take a 2-prize knockout.
2-prize knockout, and I mean, it's interesting when you know, your hand size is the same as the Lost Box player you're playing against.
So rare, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I was mentioning that it just seems like everything is just built into this deck, and the draw support from what we've seen so far is just one of those things as well. This fleet-footed, just carrying some weight here. Of course, that Beach Court being played at the perfect time here is going to help out Thomas, but still was crucial for that turn there.
Yeah, and neither player is playing any hand disruption, I don't think, at all. So they're both just going to be building. They're building their hands and seeing what they can come up with.
I love when it turns into that, because then we get to see, you know, who... I mean, of course, you're still working with the random draw of the cards, but you get to see the skill of the players shine. Yeah,
that's absolutely right. And it seems like Thomas is going to be going aggressively, just continues to Colress, continues to dig through that deck, keeps that second energy recycler. That's telling me there's Kyogre on the mind.
The Aqua Storm, let's go. Kyogre on the mind, indeed. I mean, you play it in the deck for a reason, so always has to be an option in the back of the mind for sure. But we are going to see that energy attachment onto that Sableye here.
Yeah, we are at 10 in the zone, so we're all good. We can begin to mine down some cards. There's even an argument to putting a few on Miraidon, just putting him into 200 damage range. It can make it a little bit easier for you to Kyogre. Even just going 60-60 here seems reasonable.
Yeah, I think that's actually what we're going to see here. Just the split 60-60 on both of those Miraidon EX. Looks like change the dice for matching colors. Look at that. That's Sableye unlocking the Lost Zone here to take that Lost Mine attack here.
I think this is a bit of a headache for Rob now. He's very far ahead on tempo, but without hand disruptors in his deck, he's really going to allow Tomos to have this massive comeback. The Aqua Storm, even at the front of his hand. Tomos knows exactly what's up here. He's just going to keep working further and further towards this. And Rob really doesn't have many ways of slowing him down.
All right, well, we're going to see our Cram-O-Matic flip here for Robert. Let's see if it's a heads. Oh, off the...
He's grabbing the deck. There
we go. It's a heads here for Robert. What is Robert going for here in the deck?
That's really interesting. It could allow him to force another 2-prizer back into play to speed up Robert's win condition. He can win in 2 attacks if he just brings back the Raikou V, and we know he has plenty of Gust in his hand, so he's going to force Tomos to go all the way towards Kyogre next turn. Otherwise, Rob can sweep up the win.
Yeah, you love to see that, especially with these electric decks. If you can't slow your opponent down, you just speed up faster, right Joe?
Honestly, this has been built so similarly to Mew. It's playing the crowns, it's playing the horns, it's saying, I can take multi-prizes for days. Let me just keep going through those.
Pseudo Mew right now on the screen. All right, it'd be interesting to see Miraidon play against Mew, see which M deck comes out on top there. All right, so we're going to see that fleet-footed here for Roberts.
Yeah, you have to think there's going to be a boss's orders played this turn.
Yeah.
I don't really see a reason to not.
There's plenty in the hands, that's for sure.
Turn attachment to Miraidon also makes a ton of sense here. You don't want to be slowed down by any like Dragonite or other chunky Pokemon.
All right.
If you assume your opponent plays no Roxanne, there's possibly a reason to hold on to Royal Gust cards rather than use it this turn. But if Rob's not playing a supporter anyway, it feels like I would enjoy playing the boss here, or even the Serena that's in hand. You're going to see the free retreat with Beach Court so he can get a switch card activation by the looks of things.
Yeah, definitely getting those switch cards in. We've been seeing that used throughout our games to just get that heal. And that the switch card has just been an MVP so far this weekend.
Rob's going karting again. He's trying to heal up both of these.
I got 2 cards.
More where that came from.
Yup. All right, here we go. Second switch card here to just heal even more damage. And this is exactly what you were talking. I think
we go again.
We go again. 3 switch cards played in 1 single turn. This is exactly what you were talking about, Joe. That there is that healing potential with a 4 copy of switch cards in the deck.
And now Rob is eyeing up the boss's orders as expected. He will be able to knock out a Raikou and just be 1 prize card remaining from the game. And really putting the pressure on Tomos.
Yeah, absolutely. That was an amazing turn from Robert, for sure. Just did everything in his power, did everything right there.
Yep.
And yeah, as you said, definitely is putting the pressure on here. Only 1 prize card left to be taken, so Tomos has to do something huge here.
His hand is looking good, though. He's got double Energy Recycler, he's got Chorus, he's got Flower Selecting, and he's got Radiant Greninja. He can draw a lot of cards. Will it be enough to guarantee, or is he going to have to take risks with this Aqua Storm?
Oh, yeah, that is not where you want to be. Usually when you're Aqua Storming, it's because you thinned down to the very bottom of your deck, and it is for a winning situation.
That's a lot of energy as well. That's a little bit rough. You need these energies not in the Lost Zone, so you have enough to Aqua Storm. Even if you take some to hand and then Greninja them back into the discard pile, then you can recycle them into the deck again. It's a bit of a roundabout way of doing it, but you need enough resources. You need 8 in total energy floating. There's 2 in the Lost Zone, 1 committed to Sableye. So he has to be very careful about his energy resources here.
Oh yeah, this
he plays 11 total, so he has to make sure he has enough.
Sticky for sure. We're going to see the concealed cards here to draw into 2 more cards.
How many is left in the deck? Is it looking at like 2 cards? Oh, it's more than 2 cards remaining in the deck. So it's not going to be, it's going to have to be a gamble, I think, from Tomos. He doesn't have the clean go to 0 play.
I mean, I guess in this position, that's really all you can do, though.
It's 4 cards and none of them are energies.
None of them are energy indeed. So that's just going to be the extra cards that are not energy guaranteed after you recycle back into your deck here. So that is indeed a potential gamble here. We're going to see the switch cart first.
He actually could get to 0 with enough switch options.
Ooh,
we saw there were carts in the bottom of his deck, so he can go down to 0 here. If he has enough pivots, I think we might be there. As long as he has enough energy in his discard pile.
Are we going to see it, Joe?
Oh, I cannot wait. This is so exciting. We have been waiting for this Aqua Storm through many regionals, many special events.
That Kyogre.
Yeah, this archetype has even won an internationals, and we still didn't see the actual Aqua Storm.
You're so right. That is so funny. Well, if we get to see it on the stage here, that would be absolutely incredible. There it is, that Kyogre being eyed up in the hand here. We need to definitely show that on screen because this is the MVP card here for this matchup.
Tomos is about to become a local hero.
Yes, here we go. The last flower selecting off of that pivot. Here we go. Beach court now in play. The energy recycler to get those energy back into the non-existent deck here that we have.
There's 5, there's 6, there's 7. I think we're cooking.
Oh my goodness. And Robert's saying, what?
Look at the text on this attack. Discard the top 5 cards of your deck and then choose 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Deal 50 for each energy discarded from those top 5. So it's taken Tomos all the way to the bottom of his deck to recycle 7 energy.
Look at this.
Pulling 2 back into play and then throwing. He's even shuffling. And guess what? It's
there
all 5.
We go.
That's a 4 prize turn for Tomos, and it's the first time we've seen a successful Aqua Storm.
Absolutely incredible. Tomos using Aqua Storm here. All of the resources out of hand to Robert. I mean, that's all you can do, Joe. Just laugh about it, right?
Sometimes it gets you. Yeah.
That was an incredible play to have to work through. And if that's how you're going to go out, I mean, that's a good way to go out, right?
What a way to tie up the series. That's absolutely exceptional.
I would say after that game 1, that Tomos deserved this Aqua Storm, right?
He's worked hard for this, for sure. What a great way to tie up the series. Amazing demonstration of his proficiency with this archetype as well.
Absolutely.
He was able to cycle through, what was it, 13 card deck that turn with Colress and Greninja and 3 flower selectings. But all the way to the bottom, perfect sequencing, and has completely swung this back into his favor where once again, there's so many multi-prizes always going to be around the board for Rob. He doesn't play Mana Fee. That Kyogre's always going to be available to him. And there's not even any hand disruption, so Rob can only race here.
Yeah, what I want to see is just both of these players come out to a good start because that was such a great game to watch here. I want to see it kind of be an even start for both players so we don't have to see a repeat of the game 1 where it's just sort of a sweep. I mean, that's always kind of fun to see, but also, you know, we like playing Pokemon here on the stage too. So yeah, I would love to see it. Plus, you know, I watch these matches and this is really the start of the format. So this is being displayed to everyone watching here and is giving them kind of an insight on how this format is shaping up and the archetypes being used and how they're playing out within these matchups.
Yeah, these players are definitely showing some great innovation with their deck lists. For Rob, there's actually a debate. Does he want to go second here and deny Tomos the use of Colress and maybe knowing that your archetype can be so explosive with early pressure? Is that actually the way to go here? Definitely a debate to be had.
That is true. I guess we'll see what Robert chooses to do here because, of course, he does get that choice losing that last game. So we'll see what Robert decides.
There's definitely perks to both, right? Whenever you give a Lost Box player a few more flower selectings, they're just seeing more cards in general. That's obviously going to be a big benefit to the Lost Zone player.
Starting with an extra card, too.
Right. But Rob's not actually that afraid of things like Sableye. Like, you can get to 10, that's absolutely fine. That doesn't trouble his archetype at all. So I actually kind of like the idea of pressurizing and just saying, I'll go second, give myself good odds of hitting like research and generators and just popping off with an attack.
Absolutely. Let's check out these prize cards here for Rob.
Not too shabby. He does play a decent chunk of these Miraidons, 3 of them. And we're pretty much always expected statistically to see lightning energies in it, no matter what.
Especially, exactly. 3 last game. I think it was several the last game before that too. So only 2 this time, so not too bad. Energy Recycler here, 2 energy, a Mirage Gate, and that Hisuian Heavy Ball, but just a Comfey as well stuck in the prizes.
Yeah, well that Recycler might actually really hurt Tomos's use of the Kyogre play. If he wants to just go for that 2 prize into 4 prize game plan, he won't have access to that second Energy Recycler, which is sometimes really important. So that's definitely something to track throughout the game.
Absolutely.
We are going into Rob's first turn here. It seems like he's elected to go first still. And he has that tandem unit. It's definitely the linchpin of this archetype. It's how it works so smoothly. And every game we've seen Rob go, Miraidon for Miraidon. I want to double dip this as quickly as possible and thin my deck of all of these Pokemon.
Yep, and this is where both players have to kind of buckle down and play to the best of their ability. It's down to this. This is the last game in the Swiss round 5 between these players. They're both sitting at a 4-0 record, and they want to move into that 5-0 record. That would be incredible, an incredible way to start in EUIC. So we're going to have to see some phenomenal play from both of these players coming up here. But, I mean, lots of tandem units getting started here, which is always nice to see from Robert. It's been pretty consistent every single game so far.
Yeah, Rob really doing a great advert for why Miraidon is definitely an archetype to be feared in this format and respected, because he's just got into the game, no questions asked. It's taken like one ball search card or one of these Forest Seal Stones, and he's suddenly cooking straight away. So he's really demonstrating why his deck list is a fantastic way to build Miraidon. As players have been divided, you know, sometimes we've seen Klefki, sometimes we've seen that Magnezone V-Star. Rob's just saying, I want to be even more aggressive and have even more speed cards at my disposal.
Who knew it existed?
Yeah. As looks like, thanks to Ultra Ball, it means he's going for the Radiant Greninja now. It's the only target he couldn't find with another tandem unit.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It should definitely be, the Radiant Greninja. So he's continuing to cycle through the deck here.
Yeah, you have that one water Pokemon in there, so nice to have it drawn out. Literally can only be one, so. Yep, here we go. Radiant Greninja joining the field here. And what's nice too is, you know, there's so much energy in the deck as well that Robert just has kind of free access to those concealed cards.
Yeah, Greninja finds his way into all sorts of archetypes, even when he has no thought of attacking. Just that card draw alone is so huge. And Rob's dipped on these fleet-footeds throughout the game, and we're seeing concealed cards as well. And just more items here. Didn't draw into another energy either, so does he have a cram flip here to try and get an energy drop? No, he's just going to pass it over.
Just passing over to Thomas now. So this is Thomas's first turn going second. So if there is a Colress that is able to be played, we're starting off with that concealed card straight into a battle VIP pass here from Thomas. Finally, I don't think we saw a single one in the prize cards, which is new for Thomas. So maybe we'll see some easy flower selectings potentially in the future.
We can only hope.
Please.
Comfy in there. Thomas is going to have to look for everything. As we've seen, he's calculated perfectly how to get his Kyogre play off. So these are things to track. But wasting no time, giving himself, you know, a good 20 minutes to close out this third game. You love to see players taking time into consideration with all their actions. But he has to get going with this Lost Zone, and Comfey's the way to do it.
Comfey is definitely the way to do it indeed. We'll see if we have some pivot options here. Switch cart will do it here into our first flower selecting. What will the choice be? Looks like an energy.
No Colress just yet. Oh, there is actually a Colress in hand. Oh no, is it Mirage Gate? It's tricky.
Yeah, I don't think that's a Colress. Oh no.
It's just Gate.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm seeing the Lost Zone fuse.
I know, right?
Yeah, the purple.
It's easy to...
You can retreat. Oh, it has another switch cart as well. So it can have one more dip with flower selecting. Do we see a Colress? No, it's Kyogre versus Energy.
Oh, look at that.
Actually really awkward. Already having 2 energy in your Lost Zone really sort of ties your hands with your choices later down the line, because he needs always 8 available in total, right? So that he can go for the Kyogre option. So this is going to be the attach pass. Rob gets away with no cram pressure whatsoever.
Yeah, no cram pressure, and a lot less likely at this point in time to see that potential Kyogre down the line. So it's already looking a little bit rough here for Thomas, but we're back over to Rob's side of the field, starting with that Cram-O-Matic.
It's actually a big flip here. I don't think he has much else going on in the hand. Otherwise, he might just be going for a fleet-footed cut. Oh, wow, it's Tails as well.
Hit the coin.
He's got loads of switch cards, but not much else. Maybe tandem unit out a second Raikou here, and then you can go for maybe 2 fleet-footed to get into a supporter card.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, at least you have that fleet-footed to rely on here, but definitely a weird, awkward hand for Robert to have, for sure. All right.
See the Beach Court retreat for the first fleet-footed.
Here we go.
It's a generator. That's actually pretty big. I'd love to see the second Raikou come out here with tandem units. Or even just attempt it on your Regieleki V. That's another option here. But the Raikou's safer, right? You still need to hit 2.
Well, and that's kind of the strategy you've been seeing from Robert, too, or just valuing those Raikou. Look at that. So valuing those so much because they are so essential in this deck. I feel like every time we hit that electric generator, it is always a huge card, too. I feel like that's a huge... adds so much functionality to the deck. And so that was definitely big. Now the question is, Joe, are we going to see another double energy off of that generator?
Rob's going to need the double dip if he wants to get a knockout. The only other way he could do it would be getting one lightning, then going into your other Raikou and fleet-footed for one card and hoping to get the turn attachment.
Here we go. Let's see if we can see 2 energy. There's 1.
Oh, just the 1. So Rob has the gamble. He could possibly go for a Switch Bolt with your Regieleki V, and then just go into your Greninja. That seems to be Rob's choice. The only other option is you have one more try, the last-ditch effort with the final fleet-footed.
The last-ditch effort. We'll see if Robert makes it through here, what he decides to do. I mean, that's what you got to do, I guess.
Yeah. Well, committing the energy to the Regieleki means Rob's pretty much just resigned to the fact that he's going to go into his own Greninja this turn, I think, and just hit for 30.
Yeah.
He has so many switch cards in hand. It's essentially all he has going for him right now. Oh, he's going to go for the fleet-footed.
No, that's... Yeah, here we go.
He has yet another switch card in hand, so he can pivot once again. It's the Serena, which can draw some cards.
Yeah, that's true. Can discard and then draw up to 5.
Yep, looking pretty solid. This could... at this point we need to hit more generators to do anything. Even gets rid of the additional switch out.
I know, I was about to say...
He has paid retreat already. Well, free retreat thanks to the beach court.
The beach court, yeah.
So now if he wants to launch an attack, he'd have to find another switch out as well as generators. Turn attachment's something, but it means that Rob isn't going to be taking a prize this turn.
Yep, absolutely. All right, here we go, though. There is that turn attachment that you just mentioned there, Joe, on to that Reggie.
Yeah, and it feels like that's where Rob has to end things. So not quite on full cylinders this time around. That's really the difference of generators. When you hit 2, you're feeling great. When you hit 1 and then miss your turn attachment, that's where things get a lot more dicey because really it's left a lot of pressure relieved from Tomos, and it means he can get into these flower selectings and
now beach court is also in play as well for
even helping Tomos out,
to utilize. So even working around even more pivot options with that beach court. So we are going to see another flower selecting here after the switch cart off of that first flower selecting comfey. So both are used now. Cramorant is finally joining the party here onto the bench, and then we're going to see that attachment for turn here onto that Greninja.
I really like it. 110 with Spit Innocently lines up the Greninja really nicely the next turn. You've seen your opponent just use a ton of switch cards already. So you feel like this math could stick and really
discard
help
one.
Yeah, exactly. So looking pretty good now. Rob has a pretty awkward hand. It's not great, but one thing he does have is that Echoing Horn, and that was really big for him last game.
Absolutely.
So even though he has researches, he may still want to go for a Serena instead here. Yep. Holding on to that Echoing Horn for later, because that was so important for him to try and reduce the amount of turns Tomos had to make his combo happen.
Yeah, absolutely. That was really how he put himself ahead in that matchup. It was just Kyogre took things down here.
Ooh, the fleet-footed really helps out. Now he's not having to worry about that headache. He could simply attach and go into the Lightning Wall now. That's actually a really big one card from fleet-footed.
Are we going to now see the pseudo Gudra you were talking about
here?
Coming
Gudra
in
Light. Yeah, the Lightning Wall. It's actually even more reduction.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, but
Gudra
it just has
80.
low hit points, right?
Yeah,
it
true.
turns itself into effectively a 300 hit points 2-prize Pokemon. That's nothing to sniff at.
No, that's incredibly good, especially in this matchup here. You are literally lightning walling here.
Another switch card as well, so he's completely undone the the clever Greninja line that Tomos was lining up.
No,
taken away from him. Playing 4 switch card. Tomos must be thinking, how is this guy fit 4 of these in here?
Yeah, exactly. Another switch card? There can't possibly be another one, but no.
Only Lost Box does that.
Exactly. Yeah, you play as many switch cards as I do.
Turning out to be a huge card in this post-rotation format.
Absolutely. All right, here we go. So after that turn there from Robert to take the knockout on the Cramorant, we're over to Thomas's side. Now, starting off with a Colress, I didn't see what the decisions were.
Double VIP, it's as easy as that.
Oh, what did we say, Joe? We were hoping for those double VIP turns. You love to see it into concealed cards as well. So now we're seeing the hand established here for Tomos. And this is where you can start to pick and choose what strategies you have. So, of course, things have changed now that Robert hit into the cards that he did, and that wall of the Regieleki V is in the active position now. So where do you think Tomos goes from here, Joe?
He's probably looking for either escape ropes, or if he can reach to 10, he can completely ignore the fact that it's reducing damage and just require damage counters instead. Especially because the Raikou Has 80 damage on it after the switch card, so you could still Sableye finish it off.
Yeah, that's definitely an important thing to note, that damage is different from damage counters. So having that play out here.
The Mirage Gate in the vacuum, we should be good as long as there's Psychic Energy in the deck. Ooh, no, just water. Because he attached last turn the Psychic Energy to his Greninja, he may not have the option. And with only one Energy Recycler, he had to sort of hold off on that for later plays with Kyogre. Now it's a really awkward spot for Tomos. One Psychic in the Lost Zone, one in play already.
So not even getting the full utility out of that Mirage Gate, because it does have to be two different types of energy. So that is pretty huge here. Whiffing the Mirage Gate. Of course, we did see that one Psychic that's in the Lost Zone as well. So maybe just not keeping track of the energy and realizing, oh no.
It was pretty obvious what he had lined up. He could get to 10 with his own vacuum.
Yeah.
So it was definitely a play on his mind. Now it is going to be the Escape Rope instead.
Okay.
So he can still deal a decent chunk of damage. And he can still get over the line with Sableye on later turns, but it is giving up a little bit of speed here.
Yeah, but here we go. That is what is going to happen here. That Radiant Greninja coming into the active here. We're going to see the Lost Vacuum first. Putting some more cards into that Lost Zone and getting rid of that Beach Court as well.
So it's going to be, I have to assume 90 damage to the same Raikou, and then possibly even just the Regieleki V. Seem like decent options.
Yep, that Moonlight Shuriken, so we are going to see the discard of those two energy that Tomos is holding there, but you get to do 90 damage to two of your opponent's Pokemon, so...
Double Raikou also has great benefits. It then allows you to spit innocently the other Raikou V that's currently got 0 damage on it, so that's also a great choice from Tomos here.
You are so correct here.
Thank you.
All right, so there we go. There's our damage placement for the turn here from Tomos, and that is going to be the end of the turn. Now that energy is back into the discard pile. Over here onto Robert's side of the field, does have that Radiant Greninja now stuck in the active off of the escape rope.
You'd think with, I think it's 5 Beach Courts between them, that one would stick in play,
Right.
but Tomos trying to get rid of that with the Lost Vacuum last turn. Trying to make Rob find something here. Even just forcing him to attach retreat could be awkward, because Tomos always has that burst potential with V Pokemon.
Yeah.
And then it puts pressure on Rob to find his next generator, and they have to hit.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, there's always that chance that they do not hit. You play tons of energy, but that is always potential here with the variance of our decks.
Is Rob finally giving up on the Echoing Horn?
Yeah.
It looks like it's that time has come.
That time has come indeed. I
His
love the way
hand
Rob
was so poor.
discards there. Yeah, seeing every single card. Thank you. That helps the stream a lot.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, that Professor's research, so at least seeing a new hand after finally deciding to throw that one into the discard pile.
Yep, plenty of energy, has that Forest Seal Stone, hasn't used his V-Star power this game. But I'm not sure if there's much else that he wants to do. It's going to be a payment of retreat into the Raikou, just so that he can heal. Actually missed a fleet-footed there, but most importantly, healing up his guy out of Cramorant range, and is once again going back into that Lightning Wall.
Too focused on the heal.
Yeah, you can see where he was going with it.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so yeah, we are back here. That Regieleki V is back into the active position. Definitely not what Tomos necessarily wants to see, but still is able to work around it. But we still have an electric generator here from Roberts, and that's going to be two energy, the double dip. So again.
I mean, Max Elixir was a card back in the XY era, and it was played in so many archetypes. It was essentially generator. You got to look at 6 instead of 5, but you could only ever get 1.
Ooh,
so having the double dip always feels like such a treat with generator.
Yeah, it's like I'd almost rather just look at 5, but be able to attach 2. That seems awesome.
Yeah.
So.
The highs are higher, the lows are lower.
That's true. All right, here we go. We see the knockout here from Robert onto that Greninja. So it's in the discard pile now, but not for long, because we have that Clara here from Tomos. We're back. 2 energy and 2 Pokemon can be retrieved. Either or both, out of the discard pile here for Tomos, into the hand.
Seems like Psych Energy was the biggest pickup, so he can get into Sableye this turn. If he has enough water, he could go for another Moonlight Shuriken. It's more overall damage that you can put onto the board, so I suppose that's also an option for him. There's also the double Seal Stone options. Looks like he wants to play them out of hand for no effect, just so that he doesn't get hand disrupted, or isn't too worried about hand disruption, I should say. As we finally get to 10 in the Lost Zone with this flower selecting.
All right, we're at 10. Maybe we're going to see the cool animation happen. We'll see.
That's what we're all here for.
Yeah, absolutely, right? I love the, yeah, we're just going to see that forest seal stone on a comfey there. Can't use it.
Creative plays from Tomos for sure. I definitely understand the Sky Seal Stone attachment. The forest one's a bit more contentious. Maybe you use your Dragonite at some point in the game, and then you can use your V-Star power. Oh, okay. But you can see his intention, right? He just wants not to see these cards again, I suppose, and just cycle as many cards as possible.
Burn them out of the hands, pretty much. All right,
let's see. Debate going on. Are they just checking damage between us here? Where the counters are going?
That's right. That's all correct.
Yeah, I think so. Because they're pointing at the damage here, so.
I think we're good. I think they were just confirming that Tomos had announced an attack rather than any other actions in his hand that he could potentially want to do, but he already played a supporter, so I don't think there's much else he needed to do this turn. So it's looking pretty good for him. I think if we're seeing, ignoring the Raikou at this stage, tells me he's once again trying to eye up the Kyogre play. Right, he's going to split it up a little bit. I definitely like 3 damage going on to all of the Miraidon. Right, it's just me 2. Okay, that's also pretty okay.
Right,
sets you up a little bit easier for your Kyogre. They only have 220, so that definitely makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 12 damage counters is a lot to be placing on the field. This is another reason I do not play this deck. The quick mass.
It's so math heavy. This
it's
for
so
many
heavy.
Reasons, right? It's
you have to be strategic about it,
dealing with the counters you can come up with each turn, and then you always have to have that fallback in case things don't line up in your hand or if the Colress goes haywire. That's why you're constantly making like new decisions throughout the game as you learn more information, as you have to give up on game plans at times. It's a constant struggle against yourself.
Think 20 turns ahead. You know, make decisions on those flower selectings that maybe factor into a different game plan that you then have to switch, and then you have to rethink everything. Now I'm starting to see why our jet lag players did not want to play this deck.
Very wise, very wise. No shame in that at all.
Do you think the level of difficulty has increased or decreased, would you say, with the new format of the Lost Box decks?
I think because the power level has slightly decreased, it then makes it a more difficult deck to play because your decisions become much tighter and you have to like not miss beats quite as much. So I think if it's possible, it's got more difficult.
If it's possible, That is wild. All right, so we're over here on Robert's turn. We're going to see that single attachment for turn here onto that Miraidon EX.
Honestly, Rob doesn't have many plays. He doesn't have any hand disruption. The best attacker he can use is in the active already.
Yeah, that's true.
Ready to go. So all he's doing is making sure he has a Miraidon just in case Tomos goes for any like escape rope boss's orders plays with any 2 prizes. He's making sure he's up on energy.
Just continuously
really,
take
it's down to Tomos. It's down to how far Tomos can dig into the deck. Can he work towards that Kyogre play, or does he have to stay on this sort of 1 prize trail for a little longer and set up more math across the board?
Absolutely.
Looks like there's Sableye in there. There's even more things. Tomos counting his deck as well, which I think is definitely a wise thing to do here. He's seeing, can he get to Kyogre here and now and close out this game 3?
Yeah, have to keep track of all your resources in the deck for sure for these intricate plays.
This is a close one. There's switch outs that are important to keep track of. There's that other Sableye that's come into that top 5, whether or not it's worth abandoning Lost Mine altogether at this stage. You know, it looks like the Comfey is going to go, as well as a Mirage Gate. I think there's still Mirage Gate available, so that seems like a safe enough choice. Clara is definitely a tough Lost Zone, but when it's up against energy, like we said earlier,
that's true.
He had to get rid of so many basic energies that he is really locked into that decision.
Yeah, it becomes an easy choice there because you essentially are forced into that decision, absolutely. I like putting that that beach court being used
Tomos
here.
He's playing pretty fast. He might be getting close.
If we saw that 2 games in a row,
I'd love to see it.
That would be epic. Even more of a hometown hero.
Look at this. Really motoring through. The Drapions an easy choice. I think he has 1 card remaining in deck. The only difference is he doesn't have enough energy recyclers. He's only got 1 available.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's a little bit
light the other one
on damage. He could only do 2 150 damage snipes. Now, is that enough? It would be, because the amount of damage on these Miraidon, right?
Um...
The Miraidon and the Raikou could both get knocked out with 150 damage.
Yeah, I think
So
you're
I
right.
think
Yeah.
if he can get this last card out of his deck, he could guarantee the game.
Doesn't even need.
Oh no, he wouldn't need to because he can just mill the one item that's remaining. So
yeah, that's
he
true.
might be there, you know.
Oh,
if he has another switching option. If also, it depends if he has water energy in hand or if it's a different color of energy. It is water energy.
No, it's water.
I
yeah.
think we're here, you know.
I mean.
It's just a quick check from Thomas and just seeing, well, it's a nest ball. That doesn't help me much. But as long as we have enough energy in the discard, we're there. He needs to just pull 5 out. One of them has to be a water. The rest don't matter.
Yeah,
as
here we
he
go.
Has a switching
1,
option,
2,
we're there.
3, 4, 5. On
easy
that
as
energy recycler. It's as easy. No, it's really not.
I definitely understand Thomas taking his time here because you literally deck yourself out if it
yes,
goes
exactly.
wrong.
Yeah. If this goes wrong, it goes really wrong.
Oh wow, he's Mirage Gated before the Kyogre's in play, so he's going for a different line here.
Oh, okay. So Mirage gating onto our the Sableye and the Greninja here. So maybe we're just thinking a totally different line than Thomas is thinking.
Yeah, possibly just not enough switch outs in hand and has to pass this turn.
True.
He's already paid retreat. Well, free retreat with a beach court, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. That could be what we're seeing. I haven't seen the entire hand. I mean, that's a bulky hand for Thomas, so we haven't really seen all the cards in the hand here. But yeah,
I thought
obviously
it all came together, but there's either something we're missing.
Yeah, exactly.
Or
just a different strategy, different play here from Thomas potentially. Is going to opt to put that energy, so split the energy between the Sableye and that Radiant Greninja here. Yeah, maybe we'll get a better look at the hand.
Yeah, I can't really see what's going on. We did have to get rid of some switch outs. I know in those last few selectings, you had to get rid of an escape rope. And that could be the one thing holding him back. Oh, he does have rope in hand.
No, that's a rope, yeah.
Ah, so the reason why it wouldn't work is because Rob could rope up one of the damaged Pokemon.
You are so correct.
Yeah.
That's
what it is.
True.
His only switch card wasn't a rope.
If it was a switch card.
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
That would have been it. Wow.
So that's the only way that Rob is hanging on this turn.
I mean, and honestly, that's a strong representation of what these games can come down to, for sure. Just a slightly different resource than what you wanted, and it totally changes your game plan here.
And Thomas is light on resources now. His deck is just basic energy, and that's it.
You know what else we're light on? Time as well,
that's
Joe.
very true.
35 seconds left on the clock here.
This game was so close.
Yes, very, very close here.
And because Thomas was playing towards this 4-prize turn, he's just miles away from getting a knockout on any individual Pokemon.
I know. Yeah, that's what's unfortunate. The way you place the damage counters have almost worked against you because you had to switch up your strategy. So a lot of what we've been talking about has come into action in this turn.
You completely understand why he had this map. He was very, very close to just taking the win immediately here.
Ugh.
But now he's going to have to get close with a Lost Mine and
then
try and finish it off later again. But now he's out of Clara's too. He may just be out of resources here.
Yeah, I'm wondering where the time is going to be called if our match lines up, if our timer lines up with the match.
Yeah, it feels like Robert is going to be turn 1 because this is still Thomas's turn and he's figuring out the Lost Mine placement. Rob's not yet drawn for turn. So if our clock is accurate, which we'll get confirmation of, it means Rob is now going into turn 1. And that would mean that Thomas has one more turn to try and piece together the win based on the cards in his hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, it's really come down to this, Joe. You know, I wasn't even paying attention at the time because I was looking at we have plenty of time. Yeah. And then I look up and there's 30 seconds left on the clock.
Lost Box can do that to you.
I was about to say,
there's so many actions.
Yeah, there's so many actions and so many decisions to make as well. Like, this has been grindy even for us to be casting through. Just trying to figure out where the player's head is at and what strategy they're going for, what exactly is in hand. So I can't even imagine being in Thomas's shoes right now, having to actually make these decisions.
Yeah, now with Thomas spreading even more counters around the board, it still feels like Rob has no play other than, I'm going to go back into Lightning Wall.
Back into my pseudo Gudra here. I mean, that is definitely the play here. Once you identify that as soon as game 1, I was like, wow, that's actually a really good point here, Joe. That's an incredible way to navigate through these Lost Box matchups.
Yeah, he's not just a damage mod with the VMAX. He actually gets in the action as well himself, which is really cool to see.
Absolutely. What a strong Reggie here.
Reggie Lecky has just found a way to be very playable in every iteration it's come in.
No, yeah, absolutely.
We've even called the bad Reggie Lecky, a card that's seen like a ton of play.
I know.
There's no such thing as a bad Reggie Lecky.
Only bad because the other one is so good, right? We have confirmed here that Rob is going to be our turn 1.
Fantastic.
So that is awesome. We're going to start off with that concealed cards here. So just as many difficult decisions, at least here for Rob to make on this turn.
And that means that Rob knows he cannot win this game. He just has to make it as difficult as possible for Tomos this turn. So now Rob is debating, do I boss his orders up Greninja and deny the draw/spreading options, or is it best for me to knock out this Sableye? That's the only debate that Rob can have here right now. What is the best thing that slows down Tomos a little bit?
Yeah, if you can result in a tie instead of a loss, that is definitely where you want to be. Of course, these ties do still give you 1 match point, so you want to rack up as many of those match points going into a potential day 2 as possible, or just making it into day 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's going to be a difficult decision here for Rob. Looks like boss.
I really like the boss's orders myself, because you know your opponent's deck is essentially all energy at this point.
Yeah, true.
You don't want to give them the easy +2 where they get to keep everything. That's what's so important. He knows that Tomos can't really use flower selecting because he'd get rid of too many energy, and it would just put him in an even worse position. So if you just take out the Greninja, Rob thinking that if there is another energy recycler, we know there's not because it's in the prize cards, but if there was, that's the best way that you can play around it right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, just having to calculate all of this, though, too. All right, let's see.
All right, it's going to be a Comfey. I don't think this makes a huge difference because there's already 2 other Comfeys lying around on the board. But maybe Rob's saying, I'm not afraid of Sableye. He's even going to go into a V Max here.
I want the Comfey with the Sky Sealstone on it.
Just want that thread out the way. He's going to retreat into Miraidon EX as well. He's just going for these damage stats. He's just trying to make sure that he dealt more damage in the game.
The damage stats.
The TTCG live stats.
I was about to say we're going to see the finishing screen pop up after this.
Yeah. It's going to be a knockout for Rob. This is his turn 1, we have to stress. So this is Tomos's last turn, going into turn 2 now.
Last turn of the game.
I don't think he can win the game right now.
It looks like they're discussing it. Robert looks a little happy there at least, but who knows? Yeah, it's going to be the extension.
Yep, it's that prized energy recycler that was
my goodness.
Just a little bit too awkward for Tomos there. He was eyeing up and lining up the Koga play just like he did so expertly in that game 2. It just wasn't enough.
And the switch card too, the lack of the switch cards as well.
I think Tomos is now eyeing up as well how he could have manipulated damage differently to play around escape ropes being his last switch outs. But that is a little bit of hindsight. I think it was in the moment great play from Tomos all around. Just seeing the Aquastorm in general on the big stage, you're under a lot of pressure. You're up against a matchup where you know your opponent is playing strange cards in their deck, so you don't really know what to play around. I think this is a really well demonstrated tie. We've got to see a lot from Miraidon, and expert play from Tomos there as well.
Yeah, that was expert play. We got to see the Aquastorm. That's what we've been waiting for. The stream loves it. We love it. Everybody loves that Kyogre with the Aquastorm. We see it so rarely. So huge thanks to Tomos for showing us that on the big stage here at EUIC, as well as Robert showing us Miraidon EX, the first time we've gotten to see it on the big screen here, showcased in a stream here for our Play Pokemon events. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, Miraidon's here too. It's not just Gardevoir from the Scarlet and Violet set. This is also another great archetype in the mix. And Rob giving us a very different dimension. Like, I really like that he's basically said, you know Mew is the most aggressive deck in the format? What if I made this the most aggressive deck in the format instead?
Mewtwo. Yeah, I absolutely love that. You know, going into this, I did think we were going to see a very different build from Miraidon. That's what I thought. That's what I was preparing to cast here. You know, we've seen 2 pretty strong builds come out into the field, but yeah, this one was completely different. Just very, it was gambly and consistent at the same time, but overall incredibly aggressive, and you saw it work through those turns. I mean, it just had everything unlocked every single turn. Yeah,
really nice, and I think the switch cards do give you that little bit of defense that you do need in the deck, to be honest, against the Lost Box. And you know, Rob's still on a really good record, was able to manage a tie there against a Kyogre build, no less, which is probably quite a difficult one. So it looks like he struck the right balance of aggression and sort of defensive cards. Oftentimes you'll see Klefki as a defensive option. We've actually not seen any of that on the stream just yet. They are out there. We're going to try and find some Klefki at some point because it seems like another big card from the set. But also no Magnezone V-Star as well. That was really setting the world alight over in Miyagi. So amazing to see that even more variation of Miraidon is possible.
Well, it's just so funny too because I think we called this deck, pseudo several different other decks, right? There was like pseudo Gudra, pseudo Mew VMAX, pseudo Lost Box even with the switch cards and the lines there. I mean, even having the healing option as well from the switch cards, which actually was super pivotal in that matchup. I love it. I'm sold on Miraidon. I want to enter that code in and get it on my PTCGL account.
That's a great shout. I mean, just for having 5 different Pokemon in the deck, there's so much versatility in all of those decisions from Rob. It's amazing to see that the V can chip in when it needs to. The V Max is obviously very helpful against higher hit point Pokemon. And then you can even use your V Max just to give yourself higher hit points in times when you want to tank yourself. So just so many options with that archetype, even with just so few attackers.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was awesome.